And away we go. It is a live nightcap following the final non-conference game of the season for the Cincinnati Bearcats, following the final game of 2023 for the Cincinnati Bearcats. It is brought to you, as always, by Galactic Fried Chicken, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the website, get the app. Go to the app. They will bring it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or head down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up and save yourself 15% off of your order. It is a final that maybe some didn't see coming at 8 o'clock this evening. But by 9 o'clock, the Bearcats had done their thing. They pull away from Evansville, 76-58. I'm really curious as to where Brent got the line. Some places it was 17 and a half. Some places it was 18 and a half. There was a elbow prayer thrown in by Evansville.
Look, the reason they didn't clear was Vic's fault on those stupid threes in the second half. All of them stupid. That's why they didn't cover.
He was just trying to get going. He hadn't shot one in a while. He had been playing around the rim. They were up 15. It's like, fired up.
Get going in practice. You shoot one, maybe two. The third one, completely unnecessary. I took it at 20 and a half.
You were real mad at halftime.
I was real mad at halftime. I was real mad at the end of the game. I was real mad at Vic.
I mean, Aaron, for me, but I'll let you go first. We always do that in these situations. You go first, and then I will. Hold on, Kelsey has she wants to speak her piece.
Josh Reed played so good tonight. I saw it. It was really good. And he's going to play more. That's what Wes said. So.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
That's Kelsey's expert analysis. No comment. Go ahead.
Well, in fairness to your daughter, I will say that was maybe Josh Reed's best game, certainly all season.
Yeah, I don't know that there's. I mean, he played a couple good games last year. But for this year, without question, that's the best he's looked, for sure.
I loved the Jamil dunk early on. That was a ferocious dunk. I loved the effort by Dede trying to put down a nasty dunk, but he got hung real bad.
Yeah, that would have been right up there for dunk of the season if he got that one down.
Yes. The lane cleared, he cocked back, and unfortunately he got hung, and then just made a defensive play to turn right back around. But
get the ball.
The first half was, again, I don't. This team struggles against the zone. I think they've struggled. They struggled against the zone several different times this season. Thank you for the donation, Hunter. We will get to your comment here in a moment. But the first half, it just seemed like they would kick it down low, and then everyone just hangs out around the arc. They don't move. They don't cut. They don't do anything. They just hang out around the arc, waiting for the ball to come back to them. And when we talk about how the ball needs to pop more, how things need to happen to get this offense moving, I think that's where the stagnant, like I've struggled to put it into words, and thanks to the help of one Terry Nelson this evening, I was able to finally see and say what I've been trying to say all season. But I think it's just the fact that they aren't moving around. They're just hanging out around the arc. It's not a lack of passing. It's just lack of movement, actual movement.
There is some of that. I think so. The difficult part against a zone for people to understand is, one, Wes mentioned something tonight that I didn't really consider while I was watching the game until after the game. teams have been zoning them a lot. And there's not a whole lot. Like, it's a famous Jim Boeheim quote when they asked him why he plays zone instead of man-to-man. And he said, when you play zone, there's really only 3 or 4 different things teams can do to attack a well-played zone. And when you play man, there's thousands of opportunities for how you can play offense against man-to-man. The key to zone is not necessarily plays, it's getting the ball to spots. And Wes said they had watched a lot of the game tape from the previous couple games where teams had played zone a lot and were kind of dialed in on, okay, here are those zone actions. Let's take these zone actions away. That does take some adjustment. And he also said, caught a little bit by surprise. They had played 20 possessions. Evansville had played 20 possessions of zone all season coming into this game. 10 of them were in one game.
Right.
So they did not do a lot of zone work in practice because this just wasn't a zone team. They got caught a little bit with their pants down, and some of that's on coaching. Some of that is just game to game, man. Like, you know, the tape is clearly out on what you're talking about, that they're a team that is not doing the things necessary at times to beat a zone.
Right.
Which is the ball has to get to spots. The ball has to go to the free throw line extended. Like, you know, there has to be guys flashing to the middle. There has to be someone consistently in the dunk spot. So when the bottom guy comes up, there's a guy opposite that's ready to make a play. And you have to be able to dribble the ball to locations in the zone to make the zone uncomfortable and react.
To collapse the zone, right.
And that's kind of like where your complaint is, because when that happens, guys have to read and adjust. Like, okay, my guy over on the wing collapsed down on a dribble, so now I have to lift and be in a better position to create a passing lane. Because I think that's when you're stagnant, Aaron, that's what happens, is you allow the zone to cut off passing lanes. You allow the zone to cut off looks. You have to use your basketball IQ, understand where your man is, and create separation when that zone starts to collapse. They did a below average job of it in the first half. They did a much better job of it in the second half. As they attacked and got downhill, there was movement and there was rotation. You have to rotate against the zone. Not necessarily here is your set play, but read and react. Ball gets here, I have to be here. And you're right. There at times there has been too much standing. They have allowed teams to easily take them out of any semblance of flow. 1-3-1, 2-3, 3-2, that goofy 4-1 we saw a couple weeks ago. Like, they are allowing the zone to dictate their activity. And they didn't do that nearly as much in the second half as they did in the first half. It still wasn't great, but it was better.
I think I was most frustrated with the fact that they weren't able to break the zone when they had both Day and Jizzle in the first half, and still there was no movement. It's like, what are you guys doing? Run around, do something.
That's part of the problem with Day and Jizzle in a zone, though, is neither of them stretch the defense. So the defense can just pack and say, we're not moving. Like, we're not closing out on Day and Jizzle because they have not yet shown the consistent ability to make you pay for it. I almost think it's less effective to play them together against a zone. Against man, I love it. Like, against man, I think it's fantastic getting them both in and being able to attack.
Real quick, let's get to some comments here. Chad, I feel I'm the only one who is still optimistic about this team. We have 7 guys playing together for the first time this year. Not bad so far. That comes from Hunter. Again, thank you for the donation.
I'm
Connor,
still
I think
optimistic.
Brent is the most optimistic. Just ask him. Connor says, I feel the team seems to be a second half team. I don't think they can do that in the Big 12 where you'll be blown out every night. You need to learn how to play a full game. I'd agree. Thank you again for the donation, Connor, as well.
It goes back to what we have talked about, Connor. Half of the top 10 teams in defensive efficiency in the country are in the Big 12. If you have a half like that where you just let teams score at will, you're going to be down 40 to 16. Because they're not going to let you score, and you're letting them score every trip down the floor. That is the challenge for this team, period.
The arena ran out of Cincy Reigns tonight. How about that? That's fun. Well done, arena.
Done. Great job.
And this comment, I think this is hilarious, Steven. Love seeing you back here, sir. But we aren't going to see any more zone this year, right? Because the Big 12 only plays man-to-man and plays it at a top 20 defense level, right? Right?
Yeah, you're not going to see a lot more zone. What you are going to see is a lot of elite man-to-man defense. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Good luck either way.
I don't know. It's frustrating. But on a higher note, Jameel Reynolds gets the start tonight in Aziz's absence. I thought he played well in his minutes as he's still acclimating to this team.
Still finding himself comfortably offensively. He's not comfortable offensively yet.
No, I don't think he's comfortable, period, yet. I think he's still finding space. He did try to rip the rim, for sure. Dan had a fall off from his last game, but Simas finally had a big game. I think it was his biggest offensive game. I know he was in his presser. He was not happy with not being able to do other things outside of scoring, but he did have the 5 threes.
And he had 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Like,
look, it was a decent game.
Right. You were okay, Simas. Like, look, I still hold firm in what I said in the preseason. He's the best offensive player on this team. I feel more comfortable when the ball is in his hands than anybody else on the roster.
I think we caught a glimpse of that. And I think that, honestly, with CJ Frederick being out, I think you're going to see more Simas. And I think that maybe this is the best thing that could have happened. Not that we're rooting for a CJ injury, but just for Simas to get acclimated in all of these roles. I thought John played a very solid game defensively. Day, again, another defensive showing. He was certainly the best point guard on the team tonight. But Day had the block party that Day had tonight. My goodness.
Well, so
that
was clearly something that Evansville had scouted, that they could get that turnaround fadeaway jumper. Like whenever Cincinnati was going to give up a 16-footer, because they came out firing those things, boy. The first 10 minutes of the game, it felt like they shot like 6 of them, 7 of them. And then Day blocked the first one, and that kind of slowed their roll a little bit. And then got another one later in the game. And I think Jameel got one too.
Yes.
Or did Jameel block the 3? I blocked the 3.
I think his was the 3. Dan had a block down low that ended up in Josh's hands.
They had 8 blocks overall, but they adjusted and started reading that like 1-footed, like the Dirk. You know, they were trying to hit the Dirk shot from 16 foot, like as part of their game plan. And it worked until it didn't.
Simas is the passer Landers wanted to be last year. John Newman had the pass of this. John Newman had the pass of the season tonight when he whipped it from the 3-point line. And that, I think that's second only to Jameel's from last game.
Yeah, the problem with Jameel's was the one I'm thinking about, they missed the shot. Where Jameel got doubled on the right block and threw it over the top to
Was it
maybe CJ. No, CJ.
Oh, okay.
CJ just had a good look, but didn't go down. John. For me, if I was giving an MVP, John would have been my MVP. He was efficient as a scorer. He knocked down a couple shots, defended his ass off, especially in the second half. That would have been my MVP for the night. Simas had the points because of knocking down. Yeah, when you make 5 threes, you're gonna look good. But I thought overall, and I had a feeling before the game, this is a game John can affect offensively more than just like he's gonna have to sit down and defend. Thank you guys for the donations tonight. Like,
yeah.
Thank you.
It's the giving season, right?
Right.
Going back to Josh, though, they mentioned something on the broadcast, and they said that he's kind of been taken under John Newman's wing, and they're looking at Josh Reed as being the next heir apparent for defensive specialist, which, look, if you're not shooting the ball well, and he did tonight, but if you're not shooting the ball well, you got to be able to do something or you're not going to get minutes. And I love that he's going to try and learn from John. What can I do to disrupt the flow? I wish everybody would try and learn from John how to disrupt the flow, truthfully. Yeah. But yeah, Josh is looking the part.
Josh is in a tough spot because this is a really it's a talented roster, deeper than we've seen in a while. Josh is better than 11th man, 10th man, 11th man. But when the roster is this deep, that's kind of where you end up. And you have to, it's what we talked about at the beginning of the season with Ray. You got to go win the spot. So in order, Jamil gets eligible, Aziz gets eligible. If you're Josh, who can play some of that small ball 4 and will see more minutes on the wing when they go small, you have to look in the mirror and say, what do I have to do? When the opportunity arises, what do I have to do to get minutes? CJ's out. Aziz is out. The door opens for Josh to get minutes. Play defense really hard because this team is searching for a consistent defensive identity that goes beyond John Newman.
Right.
So if you can rebound and you can defend, you're going to play your way into the rotation. And Josh did that tonight. Now, the door has opened. Now it is up to him to kick it in and say, I'm a regular in this rotation, regardless of what happens.
Is your daughter Hunter just throwing you? Is she recycling your money? Is that
she's upstairs sending me my money?
Is that what's happening right now? Hunter says, I will not tolerate a single word more of Josh Reed slander this year. He's doing all that is asked of him and then some. Well, at least tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, all year he has done what everybody looks at. He hasn't shot well, and he hasn't shot well.
Correct.
But he has rebounded well. He's been a good team defender, but he hasn't been as good as he was tonight as an individual defender. Josh is smart. He's always going to communicate and be where he's supposed to be. But tonight it looked like he spent a lot of time, as they said on the broadcast, spent a lot of time with John on how do you play straight up man-to-man defense. Josh is a really smart kid. As I said this the first time I interviewed him when he was 16. So you know how uncomfortable it is to interview a 16-year-old and walk away going, oh, that 16-year-old is smarter than me. Shit. It's not fun. It's not a great realization when you walk away from that interview.
He's going to be a geologist, right?
Right. But there is a role for that guy. And if he can play that role while also knocking down a couple threes or being able to hit an open shot, then the door opens for him for more minutes. And look, the CJ thing is clearly going to be a couple week thing. He is completely shut down at the moment. This is what Wes said in the postgame. Completely shut down. When he gets to 100%, there will also be a ramp-up period where they have to make sure because you're not going to be able to do cardio. You're not going to be able to keep yourself physically fit with the bum hamstring. So there's going to be a couple weeks, a week, 10 days, 2 weeks at the most optimistic that you're going to be without CJ.
Didn't Wes say something like 8 to 10 days? I wouldn't expect him.
He's saying we're expecting him to be out for that shut down for that window. Yeah. Then he's going to have to ramp up and get back into like ready to play shape. So 10 days, 14 days, I'm guessing it's going to be. Now, the good news is they have a week off. They have 8 days. They don't play for 8 days. So that buys you a week. Then you have BYU and Texas, and then hopefully maybe after Texas, he's back where he needs to be. Is it wrong to say the early returns on CJ are not good?
We don't know.
He hurt his healthy hamstring. I don't.
Too early to say.
That happens. Like when he has gotten good looks, he has hit them. When he has gotten opportunities, he has hit them. And now he's dealing with a hamstring. So
one of the things we've been critical on Day all season is the assist numbers. I think it's worth pointing out, not only did we talked about him defensively with 2 blocks, 4 steals, only 2 turnovers, 7 assists tonight. That might be a season high for him with 7.
I'd have to look, but it's up there for sure.
I don't recall him being quite that high in any other game. 6 rebounds, just a hell of a night for Day. Jizzle, while it was not a great shooting night for him, he goes 1 of 6. He did have 2 assists of his own, so it's good to see these guys are starting to move the ball around a little bit more at the point guard spot. But 22 assists on the evening. The second half, obviously, the shooting got better. One of the stats they pointed out, I believe it was in the second half on the broadcast, this team, when they shoot over 35% from 3, they are 8-0, now 9-0. But that may be something to keep an eye on this season.
Yeah, it turns out when you shoot it really well, you play better.
I know that's
I
crazy.
Agree. Connor, thanks for the $4.99. We'll get back to that in a few. We're gonna focus on the game for now because there's still some other stuff I want to discuss, but we'll get to the end of conference. And guess what? We're gonna have to burn a lot of this next week too, as we wait for a game on Saturday at 10 p.m.
and still have to do a show every night.
You know what, Aaron? That might be that BYU game on ESPN2. Everybody will have it. That might be a second screen broadcast. I don't know about you, unless you don't want to be on camera watching a game.
I mean, I hadn't given it any thought, but my only gripe is when mine isn't running as fast as somebody else's that I'm watching with.
Yeah,
that's the issue. So,
and I'm cable. I am not streaming.
Right.
I will be well ahead of everybody else. I mean, what's the answer for me? Pause it for 30 seconds at the start of the game.
If you have you'd have to have a DVR box for that.
I mean, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a poor. I have cable and DVR.
I have cable as well, but I'm a poor because there's too many damn kids running around this house.
So I only had one kid. Norbeck, Reed reminded you of Bishop tonight. That's high praise in this circle of the world. There's nobody that had more admiration for a player in the modern era than I had for Rashad Bishop. But
I think Josh Reed might have had maybe a career highlight dunk on that breakaway had the ref not blown the whistle on that amazing behind the back pass around the defender from Day, which would
he throws it. Look, if that's a foul, it's an intentional foul.
Well, and they pointed that out on the broadcast as well.
If that's a foul, that's an intentional foul.
They said in the NBA that's going to be a flagrant
fine,
and you get the ball back. You get the free throw and a ball back. as well.
Yeah. Because the pass was already out of his hands and the guy just wiped him out. Like he was just like, oh, it's 2-on-0 down there. So I'm just going to wipe this fucking guy out.
Dede caught a lot of just physicality from Evansville tonight. I felt they were
ask his headband.
He threw the headband. He was over the
headband. Like 3 times. No, it would get knocked off. He didn't have a choice in the matter.
At that point,
he would go back and get it. He was like, "No, I'm a headband guy. Like this isn't a matter of my headband got knocked off and I'm not going to wear the headband the rest of the game. This is a matter of you guys knocked my shit off and I'm going to put it back on at the first instant that I can." It was funny early when he took it off and threw it into the stands, like in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
The next time there was a stoppage, he walked over to the guy that had it, was like, "Hey man, can I get my headband back?" No souvenirs here, bro. I'm a headband guy. I need my headband back. But let's get to the nitty gritty, the real conversation here, Aaron. When this team defends like they did in the second half, they can be good. When they defend like they did in the first half, they are going to get their ass kicked 10 ways to Sunday in the Big 12.
Why does it take getting booed off the court by the home crowd to wake them up into that, though?
I don't think it's that. It's emotional, hey, we booed them and they figured it out. Like, I get it. But I think it's more just you've got to the error, the line between being good defensively and being bad defensively is very thin. Like there was a possession I watched in the first half or in the second half, excuse me, that they got the ball to the corner. They forced the guy baseline. And in the first half, it happened a couple times where they let the guy just clear through the baseline, back out the other side, reset the offense, and then hit you're moving the defense, everybody's scrambling, and then they set a backdoor cut, like as Cincinnati was regaining its bearings, whatever you want to say. Second half, guy does the same thing, starts to go baseline. John Newman puts his foot out of bounds by like a foot and a half and just says, "You're not getting through here off the dribble. You're going to have to turn around, reverse, throw it to a guy that's guarded." He threw it to a guy that was guarded by Seamas. And then Seamas stayed in front of the guy. The guy made 2 moves. Seamas stayed in front of him, contested a 15-foot jumper, and they missed. Like, it's stuff like that communication, help side, like, and then being able to, at the end of the possession, stay in front of your man, not let him make a move or two on you, and contest. And if they make a shot over you, okay, that's great. But there wasn't enough of that in the first half. It's what I talked about. What I saw in the first half was exactly what we saw against Dayton, Aaron. Evansville could have put an X on the floor and said, "I'm dribbling it there," or "I'm passing it there," and identified to the Cincinnati defense their intentions, and Cincinnati still wouldn't have stopped it. And that is infuriating.
Yeah.
Infuriating. I talked to the guy that's going to be helping us understand all of this here very soon tonight, because he was there from Louisville with his family. He drove up tonight. Should I go ahead and announce it to the live audience?
If you're ready to do that, that's a you call. That's not a me call.
So here within the next week or so, we are going to be introducing it'll be exclusive to YouTube, because there's going to be video, there's going to be examples and kind of instructional things for fans to understand what's happening. But Chris Lepore, former, do everything and anything member of Wes Miller's staff and former assistant
General
at
manager.
UNC Greensboro, just general manager, like all around awesome person. He will be joining the Bearcat Journal team to break down video on, what happened in the previous game for UC and then what to look for from the opponents as they go through their 18-game Big 12 schedule. It's going to be a once-a-week show, and Chris and I are just going to chop it up. Chris is going to break down some video and do some of the stuff that he has done as an assistant coach and help us out to educate the fan base on things. We talked about it a little bit today. Like every week I want to kind of focus on, like, instead of being scatterbrained and hodgepodge, like let's focus on one thing about what people are talking about. People are talking about the two big lineups. Okay, well, let's break down some tape of the two big lineups, when they're working, when they're not working, things of that nature, and then take a look at like what opponents are coming up in the next week and chop up a little bit of like what they do well and what they're all about. So yeah, Chris Lepore will be joining the BCJ staff next week.
Soon.
Yes. Very excited about that because Chris is super smart and he's a guy that the fan base loved. And I think it'll be excellent to have him here with us to help. I think it's like fans. I went through this, Aaron, back when I first started getting into this, which is having a fan level, or even like if you've coached at lower levels, having that level of understanding of basketball. I thought I knew a lot of basketball. And then I started sitting and watching college practices, mainly with Mick's dad, Hep, who's a Hall of Fame high school coach. And my understanding level went from, I think I got a pretty good grasp of this, to, oh, I don't know anything. Like I'm watching the wrong fucking, I don't understand anything of what is actually happening on the floor.
Right.
So hopefully Chris will start to give us a little bit better of an understanding on some of the stuff that's going on with the program. So that's coming soon. I'm excited to launch that because I think it'll be a great addition to the network. So anyhow, a lot of it was just getting in the way, Aaron. In the first half, they didn't get in the way. They let Evansville get whatever they wanted. Wherever they wanted to move the ball moved. And
so many back doors.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that also is the backdoor pass isn't open if you keep the guy with the ball away from where he wants to like be comfortable. Because when he's in that window where he can be comfortable to throw a backdoor pass, the backdoor pass is pretty easy. If you force them out of that comfort zone, they score 18 points and a half instead of 40. I don't know that I've ever seen a bigger disparity. I don't remember one where Evansville shot 58% in the first half from the floor, 18 of 31. They were 9 of 20 on layups, 2 of 2 on dunks. So 50% at the rim, 11 of 22. They scored 1.25 points per possession. That, against a mid-major team without their two best players, is dreadful. Dreadful. I really was at that point saying to myself, I might just not do a live nightcap tonight. I might just come home and record one of those 15-minute versions and call it a night. 1 point. I'll let you guess here, Aaron. 1.25 points per possession in the first half, which is well above the national average, and is essentially getting your ass kicked on defense. What that means is Evansville, and here's the crazy part, Evansville had 32 possessions. They scored 40 points. they were 2 of 3 from the free throw line. Like the biggest bugaboo that this team has had, sending teams to the line, was not even a remote factor in that first half because it didn't need to be. They were making wide open, easy layups for most of the half. What do you think the points per possession for Evansville was in the second half?
Well, considering they only scored 18, easy math says under a point.
Give me a guess. How many points per possession in the second half?
What is that, like 0.85 or something like that?
0.514. 35 possessions, 18 points, half a point per possession. If that is the type of, and obviously you're not going to hold anybody in the Big 12 to 0.5 points per possession and a half. But if you can limit teams down in the 8.8, 0.9 range, you're going to have a chance to win some games. If you let the teams in the Big 12 hang out at 1.25 with how good the defense is in this league,
see you later.
We're going to be doing a lot of recorded nightcaps after games. And I don't want to do that. I want to go live.
Those won't be fun.
But if they play defense like that, I don't want to see you guys in the chat. I don't want to talk to you. I just want to talk about the game, get it over, and go home.
Move along with our lives.
Right. And you guys have donated like
until
$30.
Until Brent makes us talk about it for 3 hours on Monday nights.
You guys have donated like $30 tonight. That's why I like doing live shows.
Maybe people hit on some bets. I didn't. Thanks. Thanks, Vic.
Thanks.
Your threes. Stupid threes.
Oh, boy. Anything else you want to get to from the game itself?
Like I said, I mean, I hope they start in practice, and I'm sure they're doing this in practice. I'm not one of the people who's calling for West doesn't know X's and O's. He's got to go. He's only a recruiter. I don't know what it's going to take to get them moving around more on offense and
playing teams that play man, Aaron.
Well, that's it's going to be a long second half of this season. If this is how we're playing against zone, why wouldn't everybody run a zone against Cincinnati?
Mainly because a lot of these teams are in the top 10 in the country in defensive efficiency playing man. So they don't have to play zone. They can just say, we're going to play man and kick your ass the same.
It's going to be a long second half of the season. If that's
that I do. You know what I worry about a little bit? It's now they're at a point where they just haven't played much man offense because everybody is zoning them to death.
They haven't played enough zone either. So
they're bad defensively in zone. Bad. It ain't good when they play zone. They're playing man for a reason. Their zone defense is
Just look, there's plenty of tape. Look at all of your opponents from the first half of the season. Plenty of tape on how to play all sorts of different types of zones.
Yeah, but they just don't have the right. I don't think they have the right personnel to play zone. I like their potential in the 1-3-1. I did want to I've seen some talk of this about the 1-3-1, about playing like with Dan up top, a center in the middle, and then a center at the rim. That's not how you play 1-3-1 zone. You need a guard or a wing at the bottom of the 1-3-1 zone to be able to close out on shooters outside. Like that guy in the middle, your center in the middle of the three in a 1-3-1 zone is your defender, rim protector, whatever. He's taught to like sag down. You put two centers in there, you're giving up every corner, wide open corner three in basketball. Teams will make two passes and be shooting an open corner three every possession. You do not play two centers in a 1-3-1 zone. It's not how it works. Hopefully, with Aziz Wes said after the game, interesting for him to like point out after the game that like he's going to be wide open and honest about injuries.
Yeah.
Went
all
out of
the
his
way
way. Yeah. Aziz just had his first full workout today, so you have to see how his back responds.
Worked up sweat.
Hopefully, if he had a full workout today, even if it was not team related, but he was out there doing his thing, hopefully in 8 days, you will have him at least available to some extent next Saturday against BYU.
If he's having back spasms and he's out there dunking today, I would imagine that that's not easy to do if you're still experiencing back spasms. So yeah, I think we're
the thing we don't know if it's back spasms. Nobody's actually said that like specifically. It's just that it's been locked up. Like sometimes that is back spasms. My experience is when my back is locked up, I have back spasms. So I think I assume, but I also don't want to be like, hey, I tore a tendon in my ankle back playing beer league softball when I was 24, and it took me 8 weeks to get back. So it's probably going to take that guy 8 weeks to get back from the torn tendon in his ankle. Like that's.
I'm just saying he's probably in his ramp up.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
We're at the beginning of the ramp up. It's right. Time to get.
But my point being, you have 8 days, so hopefully he's close. Like he's in a much different place than CJ, who is shut down right now.
Right.
Hopefully, Aziz will be ready to at least give some minutes against BYU and or Texas shortly after that. But if not, it at least sounds like he's back in the realm of doing basketball things.
And CMOS clearly looks like he's close to all the way back, if not all the way back.
Yeah, these next 8 days are critical. Get him 100% or as close to 100% as you can get him. Right. Again, I guess here's my best way to put it, Aaron. I don't know that he's the most gifted, like ceiling at his best. I don't know that CMOS is the best offensive player on this team. What I think I know is that night in and night out, he's going to consistently give you the most. Like if you look at a 5-game window, CMOS is going to have the best 5-game window over, over John, over Dan, something along that lines.
If John can continue to give you the quietest 16 points I think I can remember, let's go.
He also had 5 in the opening segment, and then another quick like 5, 7 in that stretch right at the start of the second half. So he was at 12 just in those 2 segments. And look, if you can get John to give you a 5-point segment here and a 7-point segment there, perfect. And he's going to go out and be your best defender. So that's, yeah. I'm bullish on John. I really like kind of where he's at and where it's heading for him into Big 12 play going into his last shot, man. Like for John Newman, there's not an extra year at this point.
I'm sure Brent will be full of all the superlative questions for the first half of the season. All of the non-conference superlative questions we could ever imagine. In fact,
I don't want to.
I'm looking forward to it. At least it's something.
No, you're not.
Depends on what time the show is, I suppose.
We don't. Yeah. Let's get to this one.
All right.
Since it's Big 12 time and you've seen 13 non-conference games, what are your predictions and what your fans realistically expect records-wise? I don't know yet, Connor. But what I know is it will come down to, is this team ready to commit 100% to defending at a high level? Because in this league, there are going to be nights you defend well and the other team still scores. There's great players. There's NBA players in this league. You know what happens a lot in the NBA? It's one of my biggest pet peeves in sports is the whole, like, nobody plays defense in the NBA. Yeah. Go try to guard Kevin Durant and watch him hit the shots that he hits and tell me the guy didn't play good defense. No, the guy played great defense, and the other guy was Kevin Durant.
He's an alien.
But there's dudes like Jason Tatum and LeBron and like Anthony Davis, and you go up and down the NBA, Devin Booker, and like there's 50 of those guys in the NBA. Tyrese Halliburton, who's like, a star now for the Pacers. Like, it's not just the guys at the top of the top 10 guys in the league. Guys 11 through 30 can also put a 50 spot on you, and you could play good defense in that process. So there is going to be some of that in this league that is unavoidable. That you can play good defense and they're going to get 1.15 points per possession. What you can have happen is to give them 1.35 points per possession because they're good on offense and you sucked on defense. That's the fine line for this team. If they can come together defensively, they can be right around 7, 8, 9 wins. I think 9 is probably my ceiling for this team. I think 9-9, like, given the road games, given the way that the schedule is set up with these first 6 games are a monster. And you're probably going to have to dig out of at least a little bit of a hole. If they go 3-3, like, raise a fucking banner, put a statue up if they go 3-3 at the start of this with the 3 road games that they have.
Yeah. I'm not ready to be that high on this team. I'm somewhere in the 6-12 to
Oh, no. I think you're missing my point. I'm not saying they are going to win 7, 8, 9 Big 12 games. I'm saying at their best, if they figure it out defensively, the ceiling is 7, 8, 9 wins.
Gotcha. Well,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not predicting 8, 9 Big 12 wins. I'm saying if they can play defense, like we saw in the second half.
And here I was just thinking you were answering the question here.
At their best, 7, 8, 9 Big 12 wins is what I'm answering the question with. Right. If they play shit defense like we've seen for a good portion of this month, they're going to get their ass kicked.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm somewhere. I think the win total is somewhere between 6 and 8, and I think that's being generous. If I'm being honest, I think that's being optimistic at between 6 and 8. I think
there are 5 or 6. Like, I think they'll get 5 or 6. Like, I don't think this is going to be a team that goes 2-16. But you're going to have to get better defensively every day. Consistent defense.
If they finish 8-10, I think we're all feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I feel really good with 8-10. Go 8-10. Yeah. Find a way to hit the ceiling, which I think we all agree is probably, look, that's saying the best they can do. Probably 9-9. I don't think there's anybody out there that's ready to say this team is ready to go win 10 games in this league.
No.
If they play really well. Here's the problem, Aaron. Here's the problem. There are going to be nights over the next 2.5 months that they play well and lose by 12.
There's also going to be nights where a Houston team just played a Kansas team and they're all beat up. Whether you're playing that Houston team or that, I mean, that's just me throwing an example out there. I have no idea.
No,
that's how the schedule plays.
I know what you're saying.
But they're going to run into a chainsaw of somebody who's had 3 days off, 4 days off, instead of having just played somebody really good.
this is the thing about being one of the teams in the middle to bottom of the league that we ran into a lot in the American. Like, you're also going to run into one of those teams that's in the top 4 that, like, just hypothetically, they've got Texas, BYU, Kansas, and then Cincinnati, and they're a bloody mess coming into the Cincinnati game.
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. But also, you're going to have 6 games here to start this conference. That hopefully at some point, we're not saying over these first 6 games, we're not Rocky Balboa. Find the goddamn towel.
We don't want to be having conversations. How does this team figure out how to win?
Play consistently good defense. That's it. That's the magic recipe. That's how you won in the Big East. That's how you're going to win in this league. Play consistently solid. Be solid every night on defense. Stop putting me in situations like you did in the Dayton game and like you did in the first half tonight, where I'm watching and going, they can't stop anybody from getting anywhere. They can't stop anybody from getting anywhere.
I don't know if we got to this comment. I would be critical of Vic tonight. He's too far along to be making the silly fouls and taking the ball up weak. The silly fouls that you're talking about are like the reach in that happens right after he feels he got fouled, and he does this. He's almost as consistently getting this foul as a certain safety was at getting the targeting call.
Yeah. So, perfect example on Vic. He thinks he gets fouled, not called. Ball comes off the rim. He tries to tie it up, and he almost got, like, he was almost in position to get a jump ball.
On the other end of the floor, shortly after that, they did make the same call, and it was the same exact play.
Okay, but you have 2 hands on the ball. They don't call the jump ball. You have to let go at that point and, like, live to fight another day. You can't then leave your one hand out there and, like, commit a stupid foul. I 100% agree with that part. How good this team could feel if they pull an upset at BYU next Saturday night. Man, I've been talking to some people around the country that have either played this BYU team or have prepared for this BYU team for what's coming, or just casually watch this BYU team on TV at some point in time. Next Saturday night might not be fun. They're big, they're old, they pack the paint. They dare you to shoot over them. They're able to make individual plays defensively because they have such great size. And they don't let you have the ability to, like, get a clean look. Like, they just make everything really hard. Great question, Chris. Harder League, 2023 Big 12 or 2000 era's Big East? The difference is there were bad teams in that 16-team Big East. DePaul was bad. St. John's was bad. Seton Hall was usually pretty bad. Like, there were just as many great teams at the top, but there's, like, even West Virginia now, that's like the lowest ranked.
Yeah.
Like, they've got dudes.
Well,
they've got guys that can really play.
They've had a lot of situations with their guys too.
Yeah.
A lot of different situations through this season that guys haven't been able to play. They haven't been able to get their full roster out there. I'm not sure have they played a game with their full roster yet?
I don't know, because I think once they got the guys eligible, they're going through what Cincinnati is like, guys are starting to get injured. So okay, we got everybody eligible, but now we're dealing with, who can actually get on the floor. those there might have been more quality, and this is even hard to say because we haven't. Here's the hard part, Chris. We haven't gone through it yet, right? We haven't seen it yet.
Cincinnati's the only team that has played 13 games. Every other team in conference has played 12 outside of Oklahoma State, who's only played 11. That said, every team has at least 9 wins except for Oklahoma State and their 11 games. They only have 6, and West Virginia with 5. Every other team has 9.
Oklahoma State has gone young. Like they have decided youth movement, we are starting over to try to build this thing back up. They have given some good teams fits. And West Virginia, the coaching, so like that thing's kind of a mess. But those are your 2 worst teams. Those teams would have beat the hell out of South Florida, DePaul, some of those teams at the bottom of the 2000s era Big East.
Basketball is also very, very different from the 2000 era period.
Yeah, but I mean, the point being, like, there were 16 teams in that league. There was a year 11 of the 16 teams made the tournament.
Yeah.
The difference, what I'm saying is the drop from the 11th team to the 12th team was like a canyon. Everybody got fat on those, 4 or 5 teams at the bottom.
I think I saw somewhere that Lenardi has only 5 teams from his way too early bracketology. 5 teams making it from the Big 12. That's it. And Texas on the outside looking in.
If you bring up Joe Lenardi again in this show, I'm going to punch you.
What are we doing with the end of December bracketology?
Where a league that has 9 teams in the top 50 gets 5 teams. Shut up, Joe. Just by default, if you're actually good at that job. Do you really think the top 5 teams are just going to dominate the other 9 teams in the league so much that there's that much separation?
Disparity, right.
Break. You guy's a clown. Shut up, Joe. All right. I don't have a whole lot else. Do you?
Yeah, when we're at the point we're talking about Joe Lenardi and his bracketology, I think
it's time to go. It's time to go. I don't know. I'm going to be gone New Year's Eve for sure. I don't know tomorrow what the plan is. We have no idea Monday. Brent and Royer want to do like an 8:30 in the morning BBP so they can watch football on New Year's Day. I'm only kind of kidding. Only kind of kidding. Hey guys, I really want to watch some football on Monday night. Can we do the afternoon version of the BBP? We'll see you soon. I don't know when, but we'll see you soon. Everybody,
Happy New Year.
Everybody have a happy New Year, one way or the other. Bearcats win 76-58. The non-conference is done. The Bearcats are 11-2, and the gauntlet is upon us. We will see you all very soon. Thanks for spending your Friday night with us. This is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.